Hi everyone, welcome. We'll just wait for a few people to get online. We can see there are a few who have joined already. Oh, the numbers going up. It's quite fun, isn't it? Watching you all rush into our virtual room. Here come all the people. So we will start in a couple of minutes with a bit of an introduction to who we are and what we're going to be talking about today. Hopefully some of you have been following the series and you're a regular attendee.
And they'll notice that like I've moved rooms and there's different building sites behind me. So
yeah, and you may well see my dog as well, who had a nice roll in some deer poo in the park this morning. So he's going to come and keep apologizing to me through this broadcast, if you'll all be ready for that. He's a very sorry dog who goes away and comes back. He's sorry still. And these are the things that we don't get when we work in the office. We don't get sorry that smell of deer poo. So that is definitely
and we get comfortable places to sit without dust and rolls of carpet behind you.
All right, a couple more people. I might just give it till 2 minutes past, because I'm sure in this world of Teams meetings and everything, people are quickly getting another cup of tea. Oh, look, Sarah drinking tea, an example of that. I think these are all the things you have to learn about Teams. Do you always mute yourself before you sip? This is thing. And the other thing that I've noticed is that there are two types of people. There are people who wave at the end of a meeting. Sarah, you are one of those people.
There are people like this go, bye.
Bye. Like, I'll see you in another half an hour in another meeting, but bye. Yeah, exactly. So
I just like that. It's nice.
You ways work. I'm a waver. I'm definitely a waver.
Yeah. We just work with quite a lot of non-wavers.
Yeah, we'll be a test. We'll be watching Kate very closely at the end. If anyone would like to make their bets as to whether Kate is a waver or not, I wouldn't. Don't say anything yet. You need to get to know her through the webinar, and then see if you can pick it. Yeah, it could be a closer call than the American presidential election. Right. Okay. I see a few more people joining, but we might just get started anyway. And those people can catch up as we go along. So welcome to the next webinar in our monthly series, Ginger 365, which is basically an unholy alliance of redheads and Microsoft technology, finally brought together after all these years. Why wouldn't they, naturally? And so we generally talk about what's coming out, what our clients are doing with their intranets and with Teams. And this month, we're basically going to be talking about how Teams has expanded and started chomping on the traditional internet, what you can do about it, whether or not you need to be afraid or just to learn to love the new world. So we'll be jumping into that in a minute. I will just introduce us with a click. Yes. Oh no, here's our agenda. So this is, I think, what we've publicized to you guys. Oh no, here we are. That's us. It's the same. Jumping around.
Sorry.
So we're from Clarkswell. We are a Microsoft partner, and we build websites and we do Microsoft workplace technology, as it's called now, modern workplace. So that's SharePoint and everything Microsoft 365. So that extends into Teams and all the other little goodies and tidbits, some of which we'll see today, into a huge stack of quite fun things, which are changing very drastically under our feet at the moment. So it's important to stay on top of them. Do you guys just want to say hi, introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm Sarah Blackburn. So I'm an Office 365 consultant. I've been working with SharePoint for over 20 years now. And obviously when we moved into Office 365, then that kind of brought us all these other tools. So Forms and Teams and Planner. And so I work with people to make sure that they're making the most of SharePoint, but bringing in all of these other tools as well. And obviously that means a lot of Teams now. Lots of Teams work. Kate.
Yeah, so I'm Kate and I'm the marketing executive. I've been here for about a year now, so I've had quite a bit of experience.
Yeah, so, and hopefully you'll be hearing from Kate if you want to do any follow-ups with us afterwards. And I'm Sasha, I'm the head of Modern Workplace. I'm also the Microsoft Partner Manager at Clarkswell. So it's my job to keep an ear to the ground as to what's coming up and to feedback what our clients feel about some of the newer technologies and how they experience them back to Microsoft. Okay. Right, I think I'm going to hand over to Kate and Sarah, and I'll be back at the end to talk about some more exciting things that are coming up.
Okay, so hello. A problem many comms professionals are finding is that although they've worked quite hard on their corporate news streams over the past few years, where they will have set up targeted news so it appears seamlessly on the intranet homepage, delivering the right content to users based on their location, job role and team. It might also appear on focus pages, say HR news will appear on the HR homepage, but now we're finding that the hits have fallen dramatically, as now nearly everyone works from home and the working life revolves around Teams now. So they get their documents from the Files tab. Those small emails or chats between colleagues have been replaced by the Post page or instant chat. The diary management and meetings all happen in Teams now. Some of them hardly even look at Outlook anymore. They don't have the need to go to the intranet for anything else, unless maybe it's to find the link to check their online payslip or timesheet, meaning your lovely articles are going unread. So what can you do?
Yeah, poor SharePoint.
So, I mean, the first thing is that all is not lost. I'm going to show you a couple of things about how you can get your intranet content into Teams right now. And secondly, Microsoft have already realized that this is a problem. So they're bringing other features into Teams, and that's going to be called the home site app. So I'm going to show you some things that you can do right now, and I've listed them over on the side there, but I'm going to show you because I much prefer showing people what's going on at the same time. Oh, hang on a second while I just try and tab through. There we go. So I have my lovely Teams. So this is Teams in the web browser because this is on my my demo site, but obviously I use it in a desktop app as well, and I have it on my phone and all those sorts of things. So when we're in Teams, we have the opportunity to add tabs here. So, and anyone who's in a team who's got the permissions can do this. They can just click on this button and add in a tab that goes to something else. So it might be the planner that you're using as a team, or your OneNote that you manage your meeting minutes in. It might be a link out to a website that you use regularly as a team. And so instead of having to fire up a web browser and go to the link on your favorites, it's all just there in the Teams. So you can really use your tabs to manage all the stuff that your team is doing, and especially where people are flipping between different teams all the time, they don't want to have to go in and go, oh, the primary spreadsheet I use is always there, so I have to dig into this folder and this folder. You can just draw it up as a tab right here. But one of the other cool things that you can do is that you can bring your news from your intranet right in here. So this is news that has come from a modern SharePoint site. So it's automatically pulled through, and I can click through and read these articles. But you can also do this with other intranet pages. So here I have the intranet page for HR, which is just having a moment to load. So I might come back and now I've clicked, oh, there we go. So, and the reason that takes a little while to load is because this is a classic SharePoint page. So it does just take a little while. But it's all there, and I can use it. So it's all working really nicely. And I can do that with modern SharePoint pages as well. And it all looks, it's just a really good way of getting that stuff right here inside Teams. So you're not having to fire up a web browser and go out, or find that problem where people are just not going out into the web browser. So the other thing that you might have is, so that's kind of localized. So if you've got HR news, you can get that right inside the HR team. You also might have that in your all staff. So here in my general tab, I might have a news tab there that's pulling through articles for the whole organization. Now, there is a limit of something like 10,000 people per team. So if your organization is bigger than that 10,000 limit, then you might have to have another think about how you do that. Perhaps you're going to go with directorates if they're slightly smaller than 10,000, and you might end up doing that in a different way. But it's it's fine. I mean, when we first started using Teams, people were like, well, why would we have an all staff? And I'm like, because you want to bring your comms here inside Teams where people are working. So notice that here, when I brought the articles in from the modern site. So if I go back into here, so I've got my news coming here from my modern site. So it's stripped out the navigation. So it's just showing me the articles. They are there on the intranet page, and they have full navigation when they're there, but Teams has stripped that out and made it look quite nice and clean. So that's a real advantage of doing it that way, but it didn't look so great when I had the HR intranet page, where it's got all of that navigation still going on, but I still got my Teams navigation over there on the left-hand side as well. So you're kind of getting a little bit of clash, and that's what the home site app is going to help you to solve, where you actually might want to have navigation, but you want to lose this sort of Teams navigation over on the left-hand side. So the home site app will pop up here on the left-hand side there. I just want to just check that this. So just when I'm talking about those tabs there, so Microsoft have just released some new functionality which will allow you to pre-fill those tabs as you're building new teams. And so you can do that. Now, we've always been able to do this with PowerShell. So you could come to a third party like crowdsource, and we would say, oh, okay, yeah, you want to have, you're building a new project site, and every project site that you build, you want it to have a planner and the resource spreadsheet and the news articles coming from the SharePoint site. And you want those three tabs adding into the out-of-the-box one. And we could always do that. But what Microsoft are bringing in is a way that you can do that a bit more out of the box. You just click on some buttons instead of having to go to a third party. At the moment, that's limited to what Microsoft thinks you should have. So if you do want any customizations on top of that, you're still going to have to come back to either someone in your IT team or somewhere like Crowdsource. Okay, so the next thing, yeah, so you really want to, even when they bring in the home site app, you are going to think about doing these things over here on the left hand side, because they're really useful in conjunction with the home site app. So they're embedding stuff right in your channel. They're not just somewhere else that people need to click on.
Okay, that's great. Could you tell me more about the new thing, the home site app, what it's like?
Sure. Okay, so I've got a little video here to show you, because this isn't released yet on all tenancies, so I can't kind of do a demo of it. But you can see that it's popped up as a tab over here on my left-hand side. I'm in that purple Teams world, but I've got my full lovely intranet homepage here. And if I click over there on the left-hand side, it opens up a slider for me, which has got extra navigation that I can control and I can manage. And then going further down, I've got my sites and I've got news articles, so I can kind of go down. So just wait for this to scroll down. Gone a little bit quick. Okay, so I've got my news articles, and Microsoft are increasing the number of things that you can do and the capabilities of this kind of open slider. So it's giving you lots of options of what you can do. And then obviously when you click down into one of these options here, it's opening up that site. So again, I've got that navigation going on at the top, but I don't see all my list of teams. So it kind of really brought your intranet right here into Teams. And the next thing that they're doing,
SharePoint we're looking at, right, in Teams.
Yeah, so this is a modern SharePoint site. So because we haven't got a HUNS on it yet, I don't know how well this will work with a classic SharePoint site, but it works really well with the modern ones. So, and then the other thing that they're doing is this capability that you can search in Teams and it knows what's there on the SharePoint intranet. So you can go out and you can find things. So it's not just stuff that's sitting inside Teams that turn up in your search. And that really helps you to get an integration, because at the moment in Teams, let me see if I can get onto my next slide here. When you do a search in Teams, you only get messages, people, and files. You don't get stuff that's inside SharePoint, and you get a different experience. So doing that same search, you get different experiences. So Microsoft are bringing those two things together now, so that you've got this a much more cohesive search experience. It's only baby steps. It's not fully integrated yet, but it is coming. So you'll see. So if you're thinking, oh, it's really frustrating, I search for stuff here and it doesn't pop up, I have to go there and search, it is coming together. But these two things, it takes a while. They're like juggernauts. They've got to kind of come together. Okay.
Okay, so what else should we be doing to ensure that people are reading our vital communications?
Yeah, so again, fundamentally, I don't think that much has changed. We're used to bringing in new mediums. Don't panic. You've brought in mobile over the last few years. You have had multiple channels. You might have Yammer or another social network as well as your intranet. So Teams is just another new medium. I mean, you might be just like, oh, not another one, but just embrace it, because it's there. It's such a massive part of our working life now. So make sure that you've always got that single source of the truth. So you might have 4 or 5 different ways of getting to the truth, so that you're catering for different people. So you might have a Cazalia article, you might have a Yammer article, you might have an email going out to people, you might have a highlight on the homepage, but they all click down to the same article, and people get used to the fact that when they get there, it's all the same, because people do get baffled if they've got slightly different content here and slightly different content here. They're like, well, do I have to check all of them? Do I have to go to Cazalia and to Yammer and to my email and make sure that I've seen that article that might be a different slant on it? If it's always the same when you get there, they'll soon get the hang of that. So keep it consistent for people. It might be a time that now we're going back into lockdown, you might need to kind of refresh your relationships with your thought leaders and start getting people to generate more content, because one of the things that we do know is that if you're generating good content, people will come and they will read it, and then they'll stumble along the other things that you want to get across. So if you want your corporate comms messages to be going out, if you're generating other good content, people will come and read those things. So that might be thought leaders, it might be lighter topics like icebreakers, or like what you should be doing in Zoom or Teams, or how you can get together and connect with your colleagues outside of work, but perhaps as we're not commuting, it might be within kind of the working day that we might be having tea breaks together and things like that. You might want to consider doing some personalization if you're not already doing that sort of thing. So where you can kind of segment things. So you might have people grouped together in different locations, or different directorates around your organization, so that when they come to a news section, they see news that's relevant to them. So they're not just seeing something. So perhaps all your home workers are like, well, I'm not really interested what's happening in the office at the moment, but I'm much more interested about the sort of experience of working from home. So so you can kind of do that level of personalization with people, and just keep it fresh. Keep articles coming. People will read, and they will come to stuff if you keep it coming all the time. I wanted to mention there are a couple of different newsletter options within SharePoint Modern that if you haven't looked at them yet, this might be a thing that you could do. So over on the right-hand side of the page here, I've got the email a digest option. So if you go into a Modern News site and click on the More News option, it gives you the option to email a digest. So you can just click, select the article, put an introduction up at the top, and it sends out to the people that you want to send it to. And you can do that with groups or with Office 365 groups, which are your teams, or you can do it with individuals. Something new that Microsoft are bringing in is the Auto News Digest for unread news. So one of the great things about this one is that it can be branded. If you notice on the right hand side, that's not branded to my organization. So the left hand side, I've got control over that branding. But what you don't have control over is the content. This is picking out the things that that person hasn't read yet, that are targeted towards them. So and people can opt in and opt out and set their preferences on that. But it means that it's not something that you can curate and sort of push forward. people. So, but like I've said before, if you're generating good quality news content, then this is going to be a really good thing. Okay. So you might just need to have a think now about strategically where your news is being generated. A couple of the things that I've shown you work better if news is generated in SharePoint Modern as opposed to SharePoint Classic or another thing. So remember that all of those teams that you generated that people are working in, they've all got a SharePoint site with news attached to them. So people can start generating their own news there. But you might need to have a think about sort of just how things are working, because perhaps at the moment your corporate news has got things like audiencing and metadata attached to it. All of those things can be set up, and it can be done like right across all of your different teams. It can be set up so that as people are generating stuff, they're just able to tag an audience target stuff. But if you've got it already set up, you don't want to just plunge people into a world where they create an article and it doesn't get tagged, so it doesn't get filtered up into the right places around the organization. And I'm just going to show you one last thing here, if I can just show you, if I go open, sorry, I thought it was open there, maybe it's this one here, yes, it's open here, is that there are ways of getting both classic and news articles, click on the right thing, both classic and news articles showing in the same pages. So what I'm showing you here is a modern page which has a list of HR tagged articles, and when it finally loads. And some of these articles at the top are in classic, and if I scroll down towards the bottom, some of these articles here are in modern sites. So I'm seeing a mixture, so it doesn't really matter where you're posting stuff, they're popping up in the same digests around your organization. Okay, so I've also not talked at all about Yammer or any of the other things. So perhaps you're using Yammer or Casalia. Again, the same thing that I talked about with news apply for both of those. So you can have them as tabs that appear over here on the left-hand side of the page. And they call Yammer communications when you come into Teams, or you can have them as tabs in individual channels or individual teams. And so you can kind of do that. Do I want to show it to everybody, or do I want to bring it here in a localized version? And so you can just bring those things inside Teams. If people are working in Teams and doing all the stuff here, bring everything else inside Teams. In the way that we used to do this all the time with the Intranet, was to bring the other services in. You can do that in Teams too. So the only thing that is really missing from Teams these days is your email, and there isn't any roadmap. Microsoft kind of don't believe that email should be in Teams yet. So I don't know whether that will come in the future, but there are ways that you can do it. So one of our developers has a really simple flow that they set up, where if he gets an email, it pops up as an activity feed alert on his Teams feed, and then he knows he needs to go and look in Outlook, because he's like, otherwise I never look at Outlook because I'm in Teams the whole time. So you can do that. Either you can do it personally, or you could do it as an organization. You could set that up and make that available for people to add themselves, so instead of having to work out how to do it for themselves. And you might want to do that, for instance, if you've got group emails and things like that. So there's lots of other things that you can do.
Okay, so in summary, the answer is not to drive people back to your intranet, but to bring your intranet into the Teams experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So either as tabs in the channels, or with the upcoming home apps that I showed you before.
Okay, this all sounds great. It feels like you've told us to change a lot, but if I'm just a regular communications professional, how much of this is easy enough for me to get on with on my own?
So I think I've told you quite a few things there, and Sasha's going to talk in a minute about the sort of the services that we deliver as an organisation. So maybe you want to go back and look at the Kate can send you a recording of the webinar later. So you might be going back to your IT department and said, I saw this, can we do this? So it might be those sort of creating tabs or adding things in using Teams there. Okay, so Sasha, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in with a few other things that I've just noticed that are coming out, or they might be out. Obviously, the thing about these Microsoft technologies, they're sort of rolled out and sometimes they just appear one day, you wake up and they're there, and other people get frustrated because they're waiting for it to come along. There's a few things which are just about Teams meetings that maybe you've experienced in a Zoom meeting that you didn't have in Teams before. So, for example, to spotlight a participant in a meeting, you can do that now. You weren't able to do that before. Another one in an actual, from a video point of view, is that you can now prevent attendees from unmuting, which if you are fans of totalitarian meetings, as I am, that's quite good. So you can keep everybody quiet while you talk. There are a few other things. I just want to talk a little bit more about the templates for new teams. So Sarah mentioned those, and they're rolling out now. So that's the idea that when you start a team, you can choose this sort of option, and it comes with all the various bits and pieces. There's two things to say there. One, our experience of that so far has been a bit iffy, and we find that actually organizationally you might prefer to define your own teams there. So it's a sort of, if you're going to roll something out, you can say this is exactly what we want people to add every time they add a team. And the other thing that this sort of addresses is this issue, which I think we're going to talk about a bit more in our next webinar, which is messy teams. So Teams has been great, and a lot of us have really embraced it, and it's been very useful to keep us communicating and collaborating during the pandemic. But what we've found is now their teams are just expanding. So messy teams is a problem. So if you want, in terms of governance, you can use some of those templates to say, if you are going to start a team, these are the things that will be included and nothing else. So, you know, behave. The other things just to talk about, whiteboard is something that people are only really starting to use a little bit now. We're just playing around with it, but now you can make it read only in a meeting, so you don't have people kind of drawing on your beautiful thing, which can be very annoying. Tasks is now coming into Teams. So tasks is a bit of a weird one where it was there's like a Microsoft To Do on one side, and then you've got Planner, and they seem like quite good, useful app things, and now they're going to crash together in Teams and become tasks. So those little wheelie things that you might have seen in Planner, which I was just getting my head around working in that sort of function, it's now sort of flipping, and you can turn it into just a set to-do list of like a checklist. And you will see those, if anyone ever used a sort of to-do in Outlook, it's sort of an extension of that. So again, the big theme from Microsoft is do everything in Teams and never leave this space. So as Sarah was saying, you need to make sure if there's something you have to go out to get, that you bring it into them. So that's why the intranet is sort of slightly withering on the vine at the moment. Only other thing I wanted to mention was topic cards, which is a part of search, which you're going to see those appear everywhere, not just in SharePoint and in Teams, but across Microsoft 365. So that's going to be a little bit of artificial intelligence, where the search function is going to build these sort of topic cards for you around various themes, and it's going to give you resources and pages on topic areas. So you'll start to see if a particular word or a concept is used in an article, you can click on it and it will sort of give you the whole topic from there. That's something that we think is going to need some curating organizationally, so that it's not just driven by the great algorithm, because otherwise it won't necessarily reflect how your organization wants to define things. But it's interesting, and as I say, you're going to see it popping up like mushrooms throughout 365. What else do I want to? I just wanted to talk about, this is my sales spiel, but I won't hang on it too long, just to talk about the ways that we can help you. Now, obviously, you know, what I'd like to say is we can make all your Microsoft dreams come true, and that's true. But obviously, there's an element to which, you know, how much do you want to do, and how much help do you need? So I'll just say, you can pay us money and we will show you how to use 365. We will show you how to use it yourself. We can build things for you. We can do proofs of concepts. We can customize 365. We can use the really funky things of Power Automate to create workflows and connect systems that haven't been connected up to now. We can help you plan to move into modern SharePoint if you're not or there already. We can help you with all of that sort of thing, or we can just show you a demonstration of a functioning modern intranet that's built in modern SharePoint and connected with Teams, if that's just something that you'd just like to see in terms of sort of the art of the possible, or something you'd like to show to a wider team. That's what we do for money, but for free, we also do stuff as well, which is unbelievably cool, which is that we offer with this webinar series a free consultancy, which we've done quite a few of them now. It's quite fun. So we just call with your team, have a chat. We'll ask
Kate, have we lost Sasha? Is it me?
Like,
I think we might have.
is the camera off because you're dressing down?
Yeah.
Other sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right,
My sound just fell off. My network connection is gone. How's that for good?
We can hear you,
Yeah,
but we can no longer see you. So
isn't that just the way it always works? Here I am, I'm back. Super. All right. Okay.
Great.
So I don't know how much of you lost there, but I was giving stuff away for free. And if you missed it, that's a terrible thing.
I think we heard the bit where you said it was fun, which is great. So yeah, and
fun
that
and
we,
free.
yeah. So,
all right. I won't push on too much longer about that then.
Yeah. Well, they could all see the slide at the same time, so I'm sure they know what's going on.
Yeah. And that sort of brings us to the end. So this is just to talk about what we're going to do next month in December. We're going to talk about the future of intranets. There's a picture of Kate at Halloween. No, that's not true. But a little bit about what is coming, what we know that our clients are building and planning for 2021, and the things to not do, as well as the things to do. Quite useful. You know, if there's anything you'd like to cover in some of our webinars, we'd love to talk to you about them. But get in touch for our free consultancy, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you next month again for a bit more Ginger and Microsoft together. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a wave from Sarah.
Oh.
I'm sure everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.